Doing his best to get you there on time. This is In Transit on the Elias Macco Show, CJAD 800.
Robyn Flynn filling in for Elias all this week. The Coalition for Democracy Montreal is taking legal action against the city's bike path plans. They argue that the bike paths will take away parking spaces for residents as well as accessibility to small businesses. And joining us now is Marc Perez, is Executive Director for the Coalition for Democracy Montreal. Good morning, Mr. Perez.
Good morning. Thank you for having us this morning.
Oh, thank you so much for joining us. What sort of legal challenge or challenges are you presenting right now?
So right now, what we're going to be doing is that we're going to be doing a lawsuit against the city of Montreal, the city hall, because it all started from there, and we're basically launching a lawsuit on the premise that these bike paths are a hazard. They're not properly thought of, and that, there's a loss of quality of life. People have lost their quality of living. People and businesses have lost financial losses, and there's even harm. People have been harmed by these bike paths simply by getting into collisions and getting hit by these cyclists. So that's where we're going on.
People get hit by cars too, though. It's not just cyclists. There's road accidents all the time, right? I mean, which bike are you referring to? Specific bike paths or all bike paths in Montreal?
Well, at this point in time, it's really all bike paths. I mean, I just read an article this morning in the Montreal Gazette saying the fire department is slowed down by all these traffic and detours and bike paths and stuff like that influence, and they lose 15 precious seconds to be able to go save a life. So we're not, our organization is definitely not against bike paths. We keep repeating that to everyone, that we are not against bike paths. We're against the way that they're being implemented, and that it doesn't seem like they have a plan, and we keep hearing that across Montreal.
And who are you hearing this from?
Oh my goodness, so many people send us emails, parents that have 4 children that are too young to stay at home, so they need to travel with them everywhere. And without having a car or their car parked in front of their house, they have to walk. A certain distance just to be able to get to their car. And nurses who work late shifts at night looking for parking after like a 12 or sometimes 18 and double shift, so 24 hours of work, they're looking for parking when they come back home, and they're spending like an hour of time. So, citizens are very concerned because they want to support the bike paths. Everybody agrees that bike paths are a good thing for everyone, for the environment, for the city. It should be a great way for people to travel around in. But the problem is that the way that they're being implemented, it's hurting a lot more than it's actually helping.
I feel like bike paths would help solve some of the problems you mentioned, though. If more people are using those bike paths, there would be fewer cars on the road, which would in turn free up more parking for those parents and those nurses who are working late, wouldn't they? Is that not what's happening?
The SAAQ already demonstrated the numbers of that it's a false analogy, because people who use bikes also have driver's license. So what they're doing is that they're leaving their cars parked somewhere. So they want to drive, and even though, Bixi is having a good success, the numbers and the data shows that Bixis are still good for like short distance. So people like downtown who want to go from one place to another, okay, that's cool. People who want to travel long distance, they could use their bikes, fine. But the problem is that there's still as many cars on the road, and people still want to use their cars. Like, imagine, what are we going to do? We're going to have firemen on a brigade of firemen on cyclists, so that whenever there's going to be a fire, they're going to go on their bikes?
No, but I don't think anyone is arguing for that, Mr. Perez, with all due respect. I think, you mentioned some numbers from the Montreal Gazette that bike paths were contributing to the issue. I mean, obviously, construction is probably a way bigger contributor than bike paths. What would you say is a better way to implement bike paths, if not the way that it's currently being done by the city of Montreal?
We've actually been thinking a lot about that. So a couple of recommendations have popped pumped up. So, number one, bike paths should only be installed on streets that are wide enough. Okay, they have to have a specific measurement where there's enough space for the parking and for the bike paths, and the bikes have to be inside by the sidewalk and not or on the outside. So there's a lot of different configurations. One of the recommendations we came with was using eminent domain to buy the extra meter of land that the city owns past the sidewalk, and basically moving the sidewalk by about 1 meter, and that basically widens the road by 2 meters, and therefore that gives enough opportunity to for the cyclists and the cars and the fire trucks and the ambulances to pass by. And as much as construction is an issue, if we look at Bourret Street, which leads directly to the Jewish General Hospital, the moment that there's a garbage truck, the moment that there's a car double parked by the cars, an ambulance that uses that as an emergency road to go to the Jewish General is blocked off because there's not enough space. The streets are not wide enough.
But you just described a garbage truck and a car that was double parked. I don't see how that's the fault of the bike path. That's the part of irresponsible motorists who are blocking the street, is it not?
No, because if you think about it, there's people that, let's say you have a plumber that needs to come to your house. What is he going to do? Park 2 kilometers away just to bring the pipe to your house? I mean, it's easy to say.
I don't think double parking in front of the house is a solution either, though, for a plumber.
No, but the plumber has to unload their stuff. Same thing with the electricians. The electricians have to unload stuff from their truck. They have all their equipment. They have things that they have to bring into the house. So even if they need to double park for, let's say 5 or 10 minutes, it still causes congestion. Whereas before the bike path, they were able to do that because there was enough space. So sometimes streets that are too narrow, and that's what we're saying, is that streets that are too narrow that cause these kind of issues, instead of having 2 bike paths, have 1 and put the countermeasure or the counter direction of the bike path on another street. Like that, it creates a certain balance. And also maybe start reevaluating sidewalks. Maybe have a sidewalk that's dual purpose, one for pedestrians and for bikers like that, or cyclists like that. They can both share the same space. So there's a lot.
I worry that might be dangerous, though. I mean, I've seen cyclists occasionally driving on sidewalks, and there's nothing more terrifying as a pedestrian than a cyclist coming up behind you. No, I feel like I personally, as I drive, anyone who has a car is also a pedestrian. Sometimes, right? We park our car and then walk the rest of the way to where we're going. So I feel like as a motorist and a pedestrian, I like bike paths because it puts cyclists in one area. I'm always nervous on streets that don't have bike paths because the cyclists get so close to traffic. I feel like bike paths are just so much safer.
So the bike, again, we're both in agreement. The bike paths are definitely a safer solution. But the problem is, again, it's the implementation. And I mean, if you look at the number of infractions that cyclists are receiving, it's on the rise. The number of accidents is on the rise. I think in 2021 there was actually an accident between a biker and a cyclist and a pedestrian where the pedestrian died. So there's a lot of things that we have to adjust, and we all have to work together as a society. And that's the point of our coalition. The point of the coalition is we're not an anti-bike path organization. We are for a safer bike path with the preservation of the cars, and we're here to promote a safer implementation of these bike paths. And I mean, if you look at what happened on Terrebonne in Côte-des-Neiges, where you have 3 schools and a church, and they all met with city councilors, and they met with the mayors, and bottom line, we read in the Montreal Gazette that all the recommendations were rejected. And then you have somebody like Mayor Katawa going on online saying, oh, well, the WEF says we have to reduce the number of cars by 75%. And then Fitzgibbon, our Minister Fitzgibbon, says we have to reduce the number of cars by 50%. So all of a sudden, it's no longer a question of, is the city willing to work with us? It's the city has an agenda to remove cars and make life difficult. And that's not fair for people who have been living here for 50, 70, 80 years, who've invested their hard-earned money in housing and buildings, and all of a sudden the city comes and says, well, you know what, you're an old man, and you asked for a permit for a parking permit in front of your house because it's too hard for you to move, well, sorry, you're going to have to adjust your life and get with the program, and you're going to have to walk 200, 300 feet to get to your car now. And again, it becomes a hawkish thing, because once you start removing parking spots around businesses and around business areas, what happens is that the competition for a parking spot just gets higher. And not everybody. I mean, there's this one woman who came up to us and she's like, "Look, I have an accident. I can't go on a bike." Oh my God! There's a guy on one of those streets that's getting renovated. That's a chiropractor, and he goes, "People can't bike to my office with their broken leg. They need to come by car." So there's a lot of these situations where we bring these situations up to the city. We advise them of these issues, and all they're telling us is, "Well, figure it out." So we figure it out.
Marc, Mr. Perez, I'm going to have to interrupt you there because we're a little bit over time. We're late for traffic. Marc Perez, Executive Director for Coalition for Democracy Montreal. I do appreciate you coming on with us today.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your time. And if anybody wants to learn more, they should visit our website, cdmtl.org. They could watch all the videos of our presentations. They could be plaintiffs in our lawsuit. We need donations. We have matching campaigns up to $4,000 going on right now. So please, we need your help. We need the cyclists to get involved too, because we need to work together. We all need to work together, and this is the opportunity to make that happen.
All right, Marc Perez, thank you very much for your time. Have a great day.